Hello, everyone. I'm Asha Nayaswami, and I'm here today with my friend Amit Purohit, and he's speaking to us from Delhi, which is where he lives now. Although when I first met him, he was working in Silicon Valley here in Palo Alto. So we have a story to tell today, how he became a devotee, how he came to America, how he went back to India, and what his life is like living for a master in the context that he has now. So, hello to you, Amit.
Hello, good to be here, Asha.
Nice to see you again. Amit and I had a number of years in the same community, but for some time now we've only seen each other occasionally. Amit, you grew up in India, yes? What is your home place there?
Yes, I grew up in Maharashtra. There's a small city called Ratnagiri. It's a coastal city and probably more popular for Alfonso mangoes. That's where I grew up most of my time. Yes.
Well, that sounds like a very smart incarnation. Incarnation of mangoes. Very good. Besides eating mangoes, what kind of a child were you? What were your interests? What did you do?
Well, I had a very good childhood. Again, there's no complaints, so it was just beautiful. As I said, it's a small city. It's probably won't even be able to call it a city. But yes, I mean, I remember as a child, my mother calling me and showing me a fox, which was right behind the house, and it wasn't like a dog or anything. So it was a very natural surrounding. So I remember most of my childhood being outside of home. I had like a small tree house. I had a small hut which I built myself. So those were sort of the hangout as a childhood I had. Yeah, very beautiful time. And then also there was ocean nearby. Apart from the Alfonso mangoes, as I was saying.
Was your father professional? What did he do?
He's a medical professional, doctor. So, yeah.
Did you have interest in medicine? Were you a good student when you were growing up?
I was a good student, though I didn't have much interest in medicine for whatever reason. I think my father himself also didn't have much interest, but because circumstantially, that's the time when he had to choose that profession because it was like economically viable. Well, he's a good man, so he became a good doctor as well. Right. Yeah, but so he never pushed me or anything like that. He sort of just understood that there's no inclination in there. So yeah.
Did you grow up with a push to achieve, as many Indian young men are expected by their families to excel?
Well, no, not really, because again, as I mentioned, I was in a smaller city, very different life there as compared to like Delhi or much larger cities. Like even exam or not exam, the game or the sports was an integral part of it. Even I remember the biggest examination I went to give. That's the time there's a cricket tournament was happening. So and I used to be the last one to reach because my father would drop. Would give me a ride to the center. So my friends would ask the first questions, what's the score? So there was no pressure from many. Even surrounding, I didn't see much of it. I think it is more recent phenomena. But at the same time, I was good with studies. So I don't know whether it's universal or not.
Oh, I see. So you might have been more pressured if you'd been less talented. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sort of I understood what they expect of me, not just my parents, but this system. I realized that I have to remember it, and I was given a good memory, so I just would memorize. I did fairly well in my exams and those things.
Did you have a passion for learning? What was it that made you happy when you were a child? Was it just being outside and the freedom of it, or what?
Yes, sports and then being outside was I liked all of them. Studies, again, it was like a good rhythm, meaning it was a very healthy sort of a lifestyle. There was not much of a television or no computers at that time also. Right. So, but every day, like a few hours used to be given for study. So there was a particular emphasis on it, and it sort of resonated in me. So I was a good, sincere student. So I did all of that, Like maths for sure. I had a mind for that, a bent for that. So I would,
So when it came time for you to go to university, what did you choose to do?
Computer engineering.
Oh, surprise.
Not a surprise at all.
Did you go to a prominent university or did you choose some?
Yes, yes. So Pune is where I moved for the higher education because, as I mentioned, the childhood was a very small place.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of the very reputed college in Pune, where school, as you will understand.
Uh-huh.
That's where I went for, that's where I went for the engineering, yeah. And after that, again, that's followed by the master's, which I did in United States, in New York side of it.
So let me just follow. Was your family a traditional Hindu family? Did you grow up with the Hindu traditions around you?
Yes, meaning I don't really know what more tradition. Yes, it's a Hindu traditional family, but we didn't have like many rituals or anything. There used to be festivals, but those are more like a celebratory festivals. In terms of like the pujas or worship, I remember there used to be like at least once a year, more like a purification puja or something that they still do at my home as well. But besides that, more festivities than I would say a ritualistic kind of environment.
Did you have any? I mean, I know in India, growing up, the whole idea of God and spirituality is just more woven into the culture. It's not like America. But did you yourself have like an independent feeling about the presence of God in your life, or was it not an issue for you until later?
Yeah, it wasn't an issue. It wasn't someone mentioned also those things to me very gently sometimes. Like I would, as my grandfather, both my grandfathers from my mother and father's side, they taught me a lot of Sanskrit and shlokas and something. And again, I like to remember things also. So many of them I used to recite them, and but not with an intention of anything. It's just that I memorized them, and it was something they say it's a good thing to do. So I just did it. Besides that, and then there was a small altar every mornings. One of them would do the puja. So at times there was a particular time when I started just going there in the morning and then do a pranam to that, and that's probably. But it's more like my own thing I did. Not everybody. Nobody actually said that, or there was not even like tradition that everybody does it. It just actually happened.
So by the time when you come after you finish university and you come to New York for your master's, so you could be called a secular Indian at that point, just sort of on your way, like all young Indians were at that point, to become a success in the computer science. Would that be fair? Is that who you were?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. You can do that.
So what was your experience of America? Did you feel that you fit right in? Did you feel any cultural issues or?
Yeah, I mean, that was our first, when I say we, because a lot of Indian friends were also there at that time. Yeah, but that was the first step outside. Even when I went to Pune, I was still with my relatives. So America was like the first step, which was like the entire freedom in many ways. And then I was super curious about it. And especially we had a very beautiful experience as well as a welcoming country. That's the same year as 9/11 when I went to United States. It was August, and September is when it happened.
Oh my word.
And yes, and I was in New York, not in the city, but on Long Island. So, but our landlord and wherever we were sitting, we were like just completely unaware students. We had no idea what America is for the first. And then this happened. We were still not quite sure. But he helped in a sense. He was very considerate, and then he just brought us to his home and then showed us what is happening, and then even offered his phone and says, do you want to make phone calls to your parents or something? So that all still remained with me for a long time. So very beautiful welcome it was from United States. Not the 9/11 itself, but the gesture that this person, Jeff Schmidt was his name.
So you never experienced any backlash?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely none. How fortunate for you.
That is true, yes. And even I had an advisor who is Jewish, and so he offered me a research assistantship, and he was also in fact just very new to the university, and so very warm environment. Yeah. And also I saw, that's the first time actually I wanted to study, because I saw these professors who were like passionate about what they were doing. Even the same professor that I'm talking about, and then a few others that I really liked them, and then they sort of triggered with me this interest of, I used to do it because I was good at it. Just you want to remember, I can do it easily. This is the first time actually they inspired me to actually work on the field.
I see.
Yeah.
So after you finished your master's degree, did you go, you didn't go back to India, did you? You stayed, where did you go after that?
That is very interesting. In fact, I was there for a year and a half, or more than half, 8-9 months of that year, I was in Palo Alto doing an internship. And my internship was at the junction of El Camino Real and what is that street? I don't remember, but that's basically right across where the church is, Palo Alto Temple, Palo Alto Church.
So my question is, how did you find master? You're about to tell me, okay?
No, this is because way too early, because that wasn't the time, because every day I remember there's a Starbucks right across the church, isn't it? Every day I would go there to have a coffee. But I don't even recall even seeing that place.
No, really?
And then a few of my friends who were still good friends, and they said, "But of course we used to see it." I said, "Like, you never mentioned." They said, "We did," but it was very strange. I was there for 8-9 months, and pretty much every day I had a coffee there. After 9 months, I returned back to India.
And never in that time we met. Oh my God. Never. Fascinating. So had you read Autobiography of a Yogi, or there was just no interest yet in any of this?
No interest yet, yeah. There was no.
So how did he finally get your attention then? He planted you across the street from our church, and most people who are watching this may know, but our church is very large. The fact that he didn't see it is really, really impressive. Okay. So when did he get your attention then?
Yeah. Well, I should at least give me some credit that it wasn't a very pleasant experience of that internship. So maybe I was not in the best mindset to even look. So then I returned to India, and then I was part of IBM research. By that time the desire has started to really do something good or justification to whatever God has given me. So I chose to be with IBM research. And I did absolutely no research, but 5 years we had a lot of fun, all sorts of fun that we could have. Yeah, I'll just cut the long story short. But yeah, so in time again, I realized that I really have to do some real work real work, and I realized America is the place where they do it. So I went to Canada for a year or so, and then finally, when the time was right, I again came to California, interviewed like 5 places I remember, or 6-7 places, I don't remember. I studied hard or worked hard for that. 5 job offers I got. I'm not saying this to boast or anything. And of those 5, 4 were again close to the Palo Alto Temple. By this time, I think, there was some curiosity. The curiosity actually started happening in IBM research itself. I had some good friends, and then we started discussing spirituality. Now, this is not the most inspirational, but I'm going to share it anyway. I tried autobiography at that time, but because I was so intellectual, I felt this is just complete not right. So even I would encourage people, or rather those who are reading about that, talking about, I said, this is just impossible. Your scientific minds, how can you do that? I still vividly remember. With whom I would discuss such things, he and me, we both are a very integral part of the Ananda Gurgaon Center at the moment. I hope he never watches this video. But then, but he basically mentioned about Ananda. He went to Ananda and says, like, you can check it out, that place. So then when I joined this new job in Mountain View, the same Saturday, actually, I went to the Palo Alto Temple. A Saturday, level 1 was happening. And Santosh was taking it, I still remember. And me, and there was another girl whom I never saw after that class. 2 of them. And after that, I went to the boutique where I met Dambara.
Uh-huh.
And this was a fresh start. I didn't have any other friends in America anywhere.
Uh-huh.
And something again, see, I think those who know Dambara, like we're not same age, or he won't probably be the next one talking about millennial talks with Asha.
Uh-huh.
But still, I think something connected, which was like, this was easy, and then something very familiar about that entire environment. Though I had no particular connection yet with Master or Swamiji for that matter, and to you too yet.
Uh-huh.
But even with Dambara, the connection was there. And then he said, why don't you come for Sunday satsang? So that's when I came, and then something, I think that it was grace. Master said easily he won't come. So he had to work a lot, I think. I wouldn't say I had any contribution, any of it, but something very, grace just brought me there and then kept me there, because I had never turned back from there. It was very quick since then, as you know.
Yeah, that's what I remember, is it was just very quick. But I see now that there was a lot of buildup. What year was that?
That was 2011.
11. Okay. Yes?
10, sorry, 2010. 2010 November.
Right. So then you lived with us in the community and in your work. How long were you here in Palo Alto? I remember we were together often, but
Yeah, that was also around a year and a half I was there with you guys. Yeah,
just a year and a half, that's all.
just a year and a half. Yeah, 2012, just around September, I returned to India.
And what inspired you to return to India?
Oh, I think that's the time when, well, I was still doing a job when I was with Palo Alto community. And then again, so you played an instrumental role in all those happenings also. And as many things happened, and finally, when I decided to leave the job and then serve Ananda as the primary occupation, if I may call it like that, and then, so I think at that time it also felt a lot of work. Swamiji was putting a lot of energy in India, and I know that India is a good country, but to make things happen, it is not an easy country like United States or the West. Right. So also felt that there has to be a reason. I also felt naturally that India is where I can contribute more. Right. On top of that, also, like there was monastery there then at that moment, fledgling, but I was a monk at that time, and Swamiji was going to be there, also. So all things sort of just made sense. So,
right. No, of course that's true. I mean, that's so self-evident. Swami Kriyananda was living in India much more than he was living in America. The community was just beginning to start outside of Pune. There was a group of monks there where you were essentially a solitary monk living in America.
Yes.
Did you feel anxious about, I mean, here you'd spent all this time building yourself up to this career, and now you're walking off to live in the country as a monk. I mean, was there anxiety in your heart at that change?
That's why I think this was all a huge grace, because absolutely no anxiety, meaning, not even like a grief of leaving or anything. Changes have been very difficult for me, any change from one place to the other, because you sort of just leave one side aside. But maybe something within, like, because also we say like Ananda, I have been, even in Palo Alto, I've seen different places, and I feel like no matter where I go, it's the same thing. Not in a bad way, but it's like there's nothing you actually miss in that sense. Personally, yes, but so it wasn't an anxious move at all. Meaning, it was an anxious move for me personally, but maybe for my parents, it was a little shock at that time. I asked everyone to be as casual about this as me, but personally for me, it wasn't. Yeah, I was looking forward to all these moments, and it worked very fine. Yeah, and then Swami came, so he didn't even give any chance to. And then when Swamiji came to Pune, there was like 30 people came. That was like a big gift, I think. Also, those 6 months when Swamiji was there on Pune land, and we all were also there, was probably the best period. It's like a gift. As I remember that time as a gift. It's very cherishable time.
Tell me how Swami appeared to you. How does Swami, if I didn't know Swamiji and I asked you, describe Swami Kriyananda to me, how would you describe him?
Yeah. For me, Swami Kriyananda is like everybody I met at Ananda, because I didn't actually had a chance to actually even meet him, or, well, I met him, but not as a very personal connection, or I'm spending quite a bit of time with him. I saw him mostly as in a large talks or a gathering, but he was already a celebrity. But I said, what is it that I liked about Dambara? And that was Swamiji, because every one of you, I felt like it's just have connected to one or more parts of Swamiji. And then that's how for me, it was relevant in the sense. I think Swamiji himself says that, like when you go to a place, don't judge by one person, but if it is like you see many people are happy or joyful, then it is not the person or what they're doing.
I see.
So I think it is, for me, it was like that. And that's why I can say, but it wasn't necessarily the book for me. It wasn't master in his form, or Swamiji for that matter, but the vibration was so familiar, like this is home. For the first time, something in my heart says, yes, I never, 30 years have passed. Where was the yes so far? And I have accomplished many things. It's not that, but nothing actually gave such a rejoicement, and just being there. It was so, nonplussed at the same time, but so precious. Very grateful for what he created. Yes, he created all of it. You see, he probably is a, what do I say? Yes, I am talking more in terms of a big river now, but somewhere it has to start also. Probably Swamiji, I say, it's like more of the central place from where the river starts. He made that river, and then from there, all the other channels are basically carrying forward so beautifully.
Do you feel a change since Swami left his body, which is now 6-7 years ago? I mean, do you feel that Ananda has become different since Swami has passed? How would you describe that experience, since you've been on both sides of it?
Yes. It was very interesting time, because again, as I said, I wasn't necessarily very personally connected to him in a human, but I saw people, like including you, and I heard you very carefully, because I was very keen to understand, because everybody was talking about and making also effort, because it was very convenient. He was right there. You could just go and ask him question. And Janaji and you and all of you talked about that also. Jayaji says the same thing. He says, like, why do I have to worry about it? If there's any problem, he says, go talk to Swami. It was so easy. It doesn't matter whether he's 80 years or 85 years old. We have something to push. Not pushing that like our responsibility, but now he wasn't there. And so every one of you actually talked a lot about how then you individually made that effort to connect him. Like Jamal talked about, like, okay, I miss Swamiji, and then Haridas telling him, like, go find him. And then understanding, getting that message and finding it. So for me also, because I had to find him true, because I had to also find my own directions or whatever guidance. One of the stories that Dhyanaji keeps telling as a last message that Swamiji gave to pretty much every one of us, like he said, like, she asked him, like, well, will you be equally available to us after you're gone? So he said, I hope so, he says. No? And then she sort of just tried to interpret that. And I think I also understand, like, I hope so. Is like, if we allow him to, if we are too busy with our own tiny things. And I think that's what I think for me personally, it has been very keenly look at how you guys are doing it. And do that, try and then personalize that in my own way, and then connect him, because that is important. That is the only way it will, Ananda will remain Ananda, isn't it?
Yes, exactly true. So Amitji, can you also like tell me what was the difference from before you met Ananda and after you met Ananda? I know the circumstances of your life changed, but internally prior to that, you were not indifferent to God, but well, perhaps indifferent. It just wasn't an issue. And then all of a sudden you're a disciple with a spiritual path and a guru. I mean, how can you describe the way you felt inside between those two times?
Yes. Meaning before Ananda, everything was perfect. There's nothing that on a human level anybody can complain about. I had no complaints about my own life also.
Uh-huh.
And life could have just gone on and it could have been a successful and victorious and all possible life, you see. But when I started practicing, I realized there's a huge, great dimension was missing. And I wasn't even aware of it. You see, I felt this is happiness. Even whenever I achieved some big successes, I see everyone around me happy. And that felt okay, everybody happy. I'm happy, everything is fine.
Uh-huh.
It didn't give me ecstatic joy because I didn't even know it's possible or anything like that. But then when I came, I said, like, there's something, a great dimension. I mean, something that, so that's a great opportunity. And so there's no real comparison. Meaning, many times people ask me about, can you go back? It's not that I hate it or it was perfect. It just, there's, there's some meaning now to what I try to do. Great.
Yeah, that's beautifully expressed, and that's certainly how it feels. That's certainly how I would describe my own life too. It was fine, but what was it? and now, and now it's really something. So, how are you serving Ananda now? What are the roles that you played now? You've been pretty much since you came back to India. You've been immersed in Ananda, yes?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, a good part is India is still fledgling, and then given the way India works, it will always remain fledgling no matter how big it is. So we get to do a whole lot of things. Yes, I use my technical brain to many of the technical aspects of the work also online, especially at this time that we're talking about, as it's just skyrocketing. But yeah, particularly me, like again, I like the teaching or sharing whatever I understand, talking to people. That sort of gives my heart the most joy. Yeah. I chant a lot. That's another thing I really like to love. So Amit's music has been very, very precious and very dear to me also. Yeah.
Explain to me why the music is important to you. What does the music do for you?
And that is you and Karen Damo told me. I remember when we were talking about attunement, I was like, what are you guys talking about? I have no idea what you're saying. I said, why don't you sing? And then that's where I started singing. Palo Alto Choir has been like a transforming experience, because I think with Karen and everybody, they are good singers there and they understand the power behind that. So though I have a fairly understanding of music, but having Dambara and Nirmoha on those two sides has transformed my, like, what is the power that that music conveys. And then in time, I also am tuning myself into the words and trying to understand why would Swami say something like that. And at times those glimpses come. No? It's like the same consciousness that he was trying to express. I wouldn't say I'm 100% there. There's no, but you get a glimpses and it just brings so much joy. Yeah. And then you sing it. You see, let it flow through you.
Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, that's so wonderful. So Amit, you live now, where are you right now? Just so people...
I am mostly NCR, but like Delhi and Gurgaon, that's where I mostly spend my time. Yeah.
And you're teaching and singing and running the technical side of things, just the same stuff all the time.
Yeah. That is right, yes.
But doing it for God's work and not for yourself.
Yeah, it's very different connotation altogether.
Yeah, it's very... it's just wonderful. Amit, if you were going to talk to people like yourself, let me just think what my question actually is. Do you think that there is a future for Ananda among rising young Indian professionals? I mean, India is in such an interesting state of transition in, as Swami said, rising to take its place among the nations of the world, which is appropriate. Do you think that there's a conflict between what Ananda represents and that expansive thinking among young Indians? How does it come together?
No, I think it will be a very good way to support. Of course, there will be few sections of the society which will always feel this is as a conflict, but there's also like a need or a hunger for it. Even the people that we talk to, most of our congregation comes from very different kind of fields. like a successful businessman, teachers, but they also understand that there's something missing in their own professions or any, and then Ananda sort of fills that gap, and then not only fills that gap, enables them in a way that could be expressed in their own way in the fields that they work. So enriching it that in many ways, like I can give some examples, but I think it is not a conflict, but it's like a sort of a need, not a mass need, I can say at the moment, but there is a big section of the society which sort of understands, and then they take it and then they modify, not modify in that sense, they shape it as their environment requires them to.
Excellent. Well, my friend, it's a pleasure to reconnect with you. If they don't treat you well in India, you always have one in California. But Ananda's like that. I mean, now we're just everywhere. There was a wonderful time when we were very small and we all lived together. But now it's something else. But it's
Palo Alto is still home. Yeah, that's where I was born.
that's how we feel about it. Well, my friend, God bless you. Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much.